My name is Sonya Starr. My title is Rabbi, and I am the Policy Director at Housing Alliance Delaware. Housing Alliance is a small nonprofit that works across the state of Delaware to solve the problem of homelessness and housing instability. At this time of year professionally, I am motivating advocates to come to Delaware on May 9th to educate our elected officials on the affordable housing crisis. In addition, at this time of year, in my personal life, I am preparing for Passover, ultimately a holy day that commemorates the liberation of enslaved peoples in Egypt, which resulted in the people wandering for 40 years throughout the wilderness, meeting up with armies, kidnapped by strangers, harsh environments where they lacked food and water, in effect, experiencing homelessness. That experience was so painful, it caused Israelites to question freedom and cry to return to Egypt. For what they, Israelites, knew all too well is what many people living in our community know all too well. Being homeless is one of the most traumatic experiences people can ever go through. In addition to all of this, on March 27th, I was in Dover preparing to testify for HB 55, the Homeless Bill of Rights. Since that committee, I've been thinking about how people experience homelessness can be characterized, stigmatized even. It occurred to me that if the only people experiencing homelessness that I knew were those obstructing law-abiding businesses from making a living or scaring elderly citizens with their inappropriate behaviors, I too would wonder why pass the Homeless Bill of Rights out of committee. Even though I know this law does not stop law enforcement from protecting contributing members of society. But thankfully, these are not the only people experiencing homelessness that I've met or worked with. For society has made those who struggle legally to get a job that pays a living wage or a roof over the head virtually invisible. All we see are the minority of people experiencing homelessness who refuse to disappear. I would love to introduce you to some of the people experiencing homelessness who I've had the privilege to get to know. For example, the 25% of all Delawareans who are experiencing homelessness who are under the age of 18, or the 30% of people who call daily to centralized intake looking for emergency shelter or permanent housing that include a minor in their household. These students often have to hand in crumpled handwritten papers because their car was parked somewhere without a hotspot, and the library was closed by the time their parents got off work to take them. The children who are collecting truancies notice because every day they have to go to work a different route, or are separated from their parents who they miss terribly so they can have a roof over their head. Or the largely invisible, extremely difficult to count unaccompanied minors fleeing abusive homes, refusing to get help, because that might mean returning to go to their abusive home. Or young adults aging out of foster care who have no family support or guidance as they try to become adults in this increasingly complicated world. Or our elders who are experiencing homelessness who work their whole life at minimum wage, like those who work full-time in the poultry industry, childcare industry, home health aid workers, waiters, waitresses, janitors, or maids, just to name a few. Now that they have earned the right to retire, they are on a fixed income while rents continue to soar to over $1,112 for a one-bedroom apartment. According to Jeff Olive, the executive director of the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, seniors over the age of 55 are likely the fastest growing group of people experiencing homeless. And for many of them, it is the first time. For people currently living in shelters, about 20% of all homeless in Delaware live in shelters, who are often asked to leave their shelter daily at 6 a.m., not allowed to return until 5 p.m., spending their days searching for a hot spot to send out resumes, applying for jobs and apartments with the only home address they have, the shelters. So many anecdotal stories about employers who see the address of the shelter and would not even consider interviewing the qualified person just because they do not have somewhere permanent to live. Landlords who refuse a letter, sorry, land,